how did I become the drummer for the church choir? Well, I met Dr. Smoot, Dr. Henry Smoot, um, over 20 plus years ago. And she did fashion shows as a pianist. And she heard me play at a jazz concert. And she approached me to accompany her at her fashion shows. And so after having worked with her several times, she invited me to come to Phillips downtown to accompany her. I did, and she felt that it enhanced the background music for the various choirs. And she asked me if I would be interested in accompanying her each Sunday and at rehearsals. And I said yes. And as a result, that collaboration between the two of us led to me becoming the drummer at Phillips. My motivation for becoming a drummer for a church choir. Yeah. Okay. I actually had played behind an organist and a pianist at a church in Toledo, Ohio, before I moved back to Huntsville. Although my regular job there involved playing in nightclubs. But when I came back, I was looking for a church. And I'd visited some churches. And as a result of my association with Dr. Smoot and my collaborating with her, music at Phillips, I listened to sermons. I met great people. It was a small church. I hadn't joined the church, and I became associated and became enamored with the culture here at Phillips. And that was the motivation for me joining the church, but also I was motivated by the opportunity to play as an accompanist for Dr. Smoot here at the church. At that time, church music was changing. Churches were adding drums, bass, and I would call the gospel music explosion, led by someone named Kirk Franklin. And so I found that I enjoyed the music. I felt I was making a contribution. I liked the way the people responded to me and Dr. Smoot. And so I was motivated to. What gratification do I feel the moment I'm playing church music? Well, I find it very gratifying because musicians are artists. And as they play whatever their instrument is, along with other musicians, it's gratifying to know that you're part of a team, whether it's a duo, a trio, a quartet, a quintet. So it's gratifying to know that you are contributing to the outcome of the music and the fact that people respond to the music. Then you feel as an artist that you are satisfied, that you're justified, and you're contributing to the atmosphere that the church audience responds to. Have I met other African American church drummers? Yes, I have. I met some when I lived in Toledo, and I met some when I lived in Chicago on my way back to Huntsville. And when I came back to Huntsville, I met 2 or 3 drummers who were actively involved in playing church music each week. And so I got to know them, I talked to them. But in my journey from there to Phillips, I, for the most part, found that my collaboration with Dr. Smoot was the main motivating factor for me coming back to coming to Phillips and being a part of the music ministry. And because the other drummers that I met, it was a short conversation. I'm the drummer at Presbyterian. I'm the drummer at First Baptist. And so we didn't have long conversations. We didn't have a real collaboration. But I was aware that drummers in church music had grown and they had become an integral part of the music that was produced in all the churches. And so I met two. They told me about two others. And over the course of time, I must have met 10 or 12. What I like to say to my audience that hears me perform as a part of the music ministry each week at Phillips. Well, one, I would like to say that I think it's a privilege to be able to be a part of the music ministry and to collaborate with some very good musicians here at Phillips. Musicians have to connect with each other in ways that you can't see. And as we rehearse, and I listen to the voice, say, of Michael, if I listen to the voice of Dr. Peterson, musical voice, then I feel that we communicate. And as a result, what we produce is a team collaborative effort. I like for people to know that I enjoy it. I like for people to know that because it's performed in a church context, that the music hopefully sets the stage that inspires them spiritually, and that they make a connection with the scriptures, with the theme on a given Sunday, with the pastor's delivery, and that they see that the music and the preaching and the program bring together individuals who create a setting for people to be inspired religiously, for people to understand the reason why we have church, and that we are part of the overall team, musicians, pastors, ushers, and all the people who create the setting for people who come to church and praise God and enjoy and take something from what they have received musically, spiritually, as they leave. Is there anything that I would like to add relative to being a part of the church ministry? Well, there's a lot I'd like to add, but I'll be brief. One thing I would like to add is that I am spiritually motivated when I can become a part of the music ensemble and know that the music ensemble helps to set the stage for the atmosphere that's created when people come to worship. I'd like to also say that I appreciate people who compliment the music ministry, because, as you know, we rehearse to give the music quality and make sure it has a spiritual theme and make sure that it's uplifting. And also, I've been blessed to collaborate with and work with a number of good musicians, some that came along long before you came. And it's been a chain of good pianists, good organists, who, when we met, we connected, we collaborated on the music, and we created a product that people could be proud of. And since this is a church setting, that people hopefully have been inspired by. And that has been gratifying for me. And I have felt appreciated by the Phillips membership, the various pastors, and I've connected with the various pianists, bass players, organists. And so it's been a lasting gratification. And I look forward to it each week as we rehearse, prepare the music, and see the audience respond to us, which means that we are connecting. Now, we are connecting as a result of being a part of a spiritual culture. I say spiritual culture because I have to contrast with the nightclub culture that I played in for many years here and in Toledo. So that's what I want to say in terms of maybe summing up the dynamics of my being a part of the music ministry here at Phillips. What is the difference between performing as a musician in a nightclub setting versus being a part of a music ministry and church? Well, there is a broad difference. One, as you know, in a nightclub setting, people are there to party. People are there who are imbibing, drinking, and there's a festive atmosphere based on fun, based on hanging out, based on, should I say, hooking up, and a lot of things in the context of a nightclub setting. And the set lists that we use as musicians at a nightclub are usually music that people back in the day would hear on radio, television, and today, the internet, to try to make sure that our music was current, because that would cause people to like what the band was playing, and they would then come back next week also. But I have to use the word secular. That is a secular culture in the nightclub, and the music is not intended to be spiritually uplifting. In contrast to church, the music culture at church, I found, is based on trying to inspire the members and the audience to think and feel a sense of church connectivity, camaraderie with other members, and seeing that the music fits the theme of the pastor's sermon, the theme of what the church is about. And I have to use the word reverence because while modern music is different from the music of church music is different back in the day, musicians still feel a sense of trying to portray reverence in the music, which would make it consistent with performing in the house of the Lord. And that's how I contrast the two. Oh, my best three drummers of all time. There are so many great drummers, and because I was fortunate to live in Chicago and Toledo, and which is close to Detroit, I would say Max Roach. I'm pausing because I'm trying to respond to three. There's so many crossing my screen as I think about them. But you asked for three. Art Blakey, who headed a group called the Jazz Messengers. Max Roach, which was such a legendary drummer, and also an educator. And Jack DeJohnette, he was also a drummer and pianist. And I'm referring to these people because I can remember being in a club sitting close to the stage where I got a chance to see the three of them for 2 hours. There are others that I have not mentioned, but you asked for three. But the list is so long until if you had asked me before I came in, I could have named 15 or 20. I will mention when I was a kid, living in Huntsville, the great Duke Ellington band came, and my parents took me out to A&M, and I got a chance to see a great drummer whose name was Sam Woodyard. This is way back in the day. And that sort of inspired me as a pre-teenager to think about joining the high school band as a regular snare drummer, but then I always thought about that big set of drums, which involved drums and cymbals and a foot pedal. But I think of him as an inspiration. But when I became an adult and I could go to clubs in the big cities, I could see the drummers that I had on my albums. And so I mentioned those three because of that. But there are really many, and some who are not famous also.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Okay.
I knew Maurice White before he left Chicago. He's from Memphis, and came back to Memphis to collaborate with his cousin, the bass player, Vernell. and he played with the Ramsey Lewis Trio, and we both went to City College together. And he's just a little older than I am, but I thought he was a great drummer. He got a lot of work around Chicago. He was in the musician union, and I got a chance to watch him play at a club. But then I saw him in the halls at school, and I was always bragging on him, but he wasn't famous then. He just played with Ramsey Lewis Trio, but then when he came back to Memphis, you know what he did with Earth, Wind and Fire. And even though he was a drummer, he actually moved out front and started singing, and produced all those great albums. But that's difficult to answer because there's so many, and even some young drummers, that come out of New Orleans, people I heard in New York. But those three are giants, and Max is deceased, Blake is deceased, Jack DeJohnette is still recording, producing, playing concerts around the world.